So we're going to start our 10th anniversary and this year's lecture series with a land acknowledgement. I'm sure all of you have heard land acknowledgements before, but I thought we'd take a minute to just understand the land acknowledgement. So a land acknowledgement is identifying and paying respect to the traditional inhabitants of the land we live on and we work on. We would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations. The territory was the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, which is an agreement between the Iroquois Confederacy and the Ojibwe and allied nations to peaceably share and care for the resources around the Great Lakes. We must recognize, like the peoples of the Haudenosaunee and Anishinaabe nations, that the dish represents a common area of land, and the spoon means we all have to share this land equally. We are grateful for the opportunity to meet here. We thank all the generations of Indigenous peoples who have taken care of this land and recognize and deeply appreciate their historic and contemporary connection to this place. Most importantly, while an acknowledgement can be a good start, we encourage all of you to continue to learn about the land that you're on and take action to decolonize. For example, we encourage you to learn more about the Dish with One Spoon Treaty and the Wampum Belt Agreement. So check out this link at the bottom of the acknowledgement and learn more about what the land acknowledgement means. So I want to have a couple of announcements before we get started with today's lecture. First of all, again, letting you know that this is our 10th anniversary of MCYU, 10 years of bringing you all free programming. If you want to help us out, because we are a free program, we always need donations. Please go on our website and encourage your friends and family to visit the website where you will see a give button, and any donations you make there will be very helpful in helping us to keep this programming free. I want to let you know we have a lot of events planned for this year. We'll be making those announcements on our website. We'll be making them at every lecture. We have a number of exciting lectures planned. We also have launched this year our first ebook, which you can find in the Kids Zone in our website. It's called Ecology, a deeper look at our interactions in our environment. In this book, you can explore the factors such as biodiversity and human impacts on our ecosystem. Most importantly, what we want all of you to do is share your experiences about MCYU with us on this 10th anniversary. So 2021 marks MCYU's 10th anniversary, and we're celebrating this by putting together a video montage. We want to feature everyone that's been part of MCYU, including all of you wonderful young people. And we would appreciate if you could submit a short video and share your favorite memories of MCYU. Finally, one of the things we're going to be doing over this 10th year anniversary is running a scavenger hunt. So we're going to encourage you to explore MCYU's community, interact with the various partners that help to bring MCYU to you, and learn about STEAM. We've developed some customized stickers that you'll be awarded when you go on the scavenger hunt. If you collect 10 of those stickers, your name will be entered in a draw to win a special prize. The start date and more information about the scavenger hunt will be coming up on future lectures, but also you can try to get a sneak peek by keeping on our website. Go look on our website and you'll see it there first. Okay, so there's going to be many more things that we're going to be doing over this 10th anniversary, so keep your eyes open. So let's get started with today's lecture. We're very, very fortunate to have Mr. Wayne Terryberry come to us and talk about The Return of Nature, Restoring Marshland at McMaster University. Wayne is the coordinator of the outdoor recreation and natural lands at McMaster University. He has been teaching outdoor recreation for 25 years. As a leadership facilitator and wilderness guide, Wayne specializes in canoe tripping, trail management, hike leadership, and natural history interpretation. He coordinates natural land and conservation work for the university, and his academic research focuses on the history of conservation in Ontario and the connection between nature and human well-being. So with that, let me turn it over to Wayne.
Great, thank you, Sandy. And I'm very pleased and honored to be joining you today in a wonderful initiative, the MCYU program. And I really appreciate the invite. What we're going to talk about today is a place, and we're looking at that place here on the screen. This is Lower Campus at McMaster. You can see up in the top right the main campus with the residences and nuclear reactor and the other buildings up there. That is about 100 feet up higher than the lower campus here. And what we're going to review today is a little bit of the history and background of this lower campus area and its significance both naturally and for the water flow through the creek there and its connection to Indigenous peoples. But we're going to look at some of the restoration work that the university and our conservation partners, the Hamilton Conservation Authority and the Royal Botanical Gardens, have been doing in this area. And also then look at some proposed ideas on a further restoration project, which is very exciting here at the university. And we'll review that as well. But as we move through here, certainly there's a lot to talk about when you get talking about ecology and history. So I welcome questions, and this is to be interactive. So here's a little background about my program area. We've been doing this for 25 years. We have a lot of outdoor trips and climbing programs, plenty of nature experiences. That's me in the canoe there with up in Algonquin Park. And we have an indoor climbing wall, which is under restoration. And we have the Alpine Tower facility in the top right. And if you've ever been to the Alpine Tower area with a school or a camps or a birthday party, drop it in the chat. We really have enjoyed over the last 13 or 14 years having a lot of youth programming done there, including lots of students at the university to experience. That's a 50-foot high Alpine Tower climbing structure, the only one in Canada, and it's university accessible. And I think here we might be doing an MCYU program there in the spring, so that could be very exciting. In my spare time, I have a hobby farm out near Hamilton Airport where I have a few sheep and goats and chickens and ducks and peacocks and etc. here. It's quite fun. I have a lot of students and youth come out and visit. It's 10 acres, and you can see some of Bridget and baby Val on top of her daddy there, and some of the cashmere goats I have. We often do goat hikes, so they're following me out into the forest, into the trails in the field there. So it's quite a lot of fun, but that's what keeps me busy when I'm not working at the university, and probably be out doing some work later. So hopefully we can have a visit here sometime. So this is another view of Lower Campus. I want to highlight some of the geography here. The red line around what is really the university area, and you can see the bigger parking lot to the lower part of the red circle is Lot M, and that's about 1,100 parking spots. In the top of the red, there are two more parking areas, Lot N and P, and a few baseball diamonds there. So it's a really great area. The university in the 1960s purchased this area from the Royal Botanical Gardens. Before then, it was the Cold Spring Valley Nature Sanctuary. And At that time, there was a need for parking at the university, and it was the creek was moved. You can see the creeks and the water courses in blue, and the creek was moved to the left of the lower campus area to allow for the construction of parking lots. We're hoping that may change in the near future. Also, you can see the campus on the right there and some of the suburban areas surrounding the lower campus. University Gardens at the left and Sanders Boulevard area on the lower below the red circle there. So that's the area we're focused on today, and we'll be talking a lot about it. So I'm going to move on to the next slide, which is kind of a video overview of where it is. And you can see how connected is the Coutts Paradise. Ancaster Creek, which is the creek that flows by the lower campus, flows out into Coutts Paradise. Coutts Paradise is a nature reserve and a very significant ecosystem. It's an international birding area of significance. It's an important amphibian and reptile area and a national historic site as well. The Royal Botanical Gardens owns and manages it, but as I said, it's one of the richest biodiverse areas in Canada. I might note that 24% of the plants found in Canada can be found in Coutts Paradise. And 38% of the plants you would find all over Ontario are found in Coutts Paradise. You might have remembered also that up on the far upper shore of Coutts Paradise at the top, we had bald eagles return there in about 10 years ago, which was very significant. So we have a very vibrant bald eagle community there as well. I might note Coutts Paradise has been a major area of importance as well for our Indigenous peoples. That area has been rich in waterfowl, birds, fish, all kinds of wild rice was found there. And there's many archaeological sites around Coutts showing the hunting and gathering, the fishing villages, the areas. And going through lower campus, there would have been a travel route off into the Dundas Valley going west, and we do have a few archaeological sites. The area in this picture, since I have it here, where the grassy area is on the far left, where it's a hydro corridor now, when early settlement happened in Canada in the early 1800s, including my family, this was the Binkley farm, a lot of that area, including part of Lot M. And this area has historically been known as Binkley Hollow. So very rich, robust, and very busy place during the War of 1812. But we can talk about that more another time. But I want to show you how this all connects to the ecosystems here. So moving to the next slide, please. We're going to watch a video that a colleague from the university, Sally McKay, did on the importance of Ancaster Creek. So we're going to run this. It's about 2 minutes long. So please watch and observe, and we can talk about it after. Thank you.
It's about a creek.
There you go. Just let it run.
Water Creek and a parking lot at McMaster University. The creek flows down the escarpment through Ancaster and Dundas Valley and past McMaster campus and into Coutts Paradise and out to Hamilton Harbor and out to Lake Ontario, the Great Lakes system. Our little parking lot is right before it gets to Coutts Paradise. This area used to be natural. There's other barriers along the route. The creek has to go through culverts. It has to go under the 403. It has to deal with sewage overflow. And it's very pretty, but it's got some challenges. And the wildlife that lives along the creek has some challenges in terms of mobility, access through their natural corridors. One area is very beautiful, naturalized, lots of uninterrupted space. Then culverts. This is getting closer to McMaster. goes through the hydro corridor. There's a big CSO tank at the McMaster parking lot. And then it continues under Coots Drive and out into Coots Paradise. So coming back to the parking lot, you can see that it has been channelized. The creek runs alongside of it, but it didn't used to before the parking lot was there. It had many different routes that it took throughout this part of land. The parking lot was built in 1968, so prior to that, the creek was able to meander. And we want to mark some of that history by painting lines on the asphalt along the routes, the old routes that the creek used to take, and kind of marking that history on the asphalt. We're going to invite students and community members, friends to make stencils of species or thoughts or ideas, things that matter to them about this space that we can put along the routes of the old creek. This is a sort of temporary project because the bigger project is to take up the asphalt, take up the parking lot, and put wetlands in that area. So that West Campus redesign project to put in a wetland is happening. It's in the works. And we're looking forward to seeing water back in this space.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sandy. Before we get to this question, Sally mentioned an eco art project with the stencils, and we will likely be doing a stenciling activity with MCYU in the spring, and we have information about making stencils, and the staff at the university would be there to help with paint and things, and we'll talk a little bit about that towards the end. But I want to note, you saw how much change historically the valley there, creek flow, has evolved and moved over the last hundreds of years. It's constantly dynamic. So I have a question here. Why do creeks and rivers change their course every few years or every few decades? Anyone got any ideas? You can put it in the chat, or you can just speak aloud. It'd be good to hear some voices other than mine.
I think, like someone put in the chat, erosion. That was exactly what I was going to say. It erodes different areas, and then people try to fill it in, and then it finds a new way around. So it kind of adapts to what gets thrown at it.
Exactly. Good answer. And whoever put that in the chat. Any other thoughts from anyone?
Oh,
Weather. That's a good answer too. You know, storms.
There's another.
Okay.
Somebody has their hand up.
Yeah. Yes, please let us know your answer.
And I think it is because the water wants to go where it was and it erodes places to make new paths.
That's a really good answer. You know, and you've all really, blockages is another important thing. It really, as you identified, it's the kinetic energy of a river or a water course. There's a lot of power and energy and erosion that happens from that water energy. And it, as you said, Kira, it will make its own course. It will carve its way through the sand and dirt. And then the other aspect of it, when it's carving erosion, you get a lot of sediment in the water, which then is deposited somewhere. So all of a sudden you've carved somewhere, taken the dirt, deposited somewhere else, right? So, and the answer about blockages, sometimes flow will hit a rock, or there could be tree debris from a flood. And the flooding is, as you said about the weather, very significant because you get a lot of water and a lot of kinetic energy, which will carve its way through and find a new course and make its way. So that's what's happened down here in this river valley, creek valley. And so that's why it's moved and meandered and changed, and it basically has gone where it wants to. So the university channeled it over and to put the parking lot in. But as Sally had said, we're looking to make some changes in the future, which we'll review shortly. It is a big watershed, and it's a very beautiful area. So I want to show some things that we've done in the last 10 years or so here at the university. What you're looking at here on the right is an open stretch between the parking lot and the creek. Before 10 years ago, the parking lot used to go right up to the edge of the creek. And since then, we've moved it back and created a natural area. And as you see by the tree there on the right, a sitting area for students and that. And my question to you now is, why is a natural buffer between a parking lot and a creek or river important? Why did we do that, and why should everybody do that? Any thoughts, questions, answers? And yes, the water quality does get tested in the creek by the Conservation Authority and our biology staff to make sure it's as clean and healthy as we can get it. Any thoughts on what's important? Yeah, keep out the garbage. And there's a lot of type of garbages that could be in there.
Well, that way the exhaust from the fuel doesn't pollute the water.
That's right. And that's one of the aspects of garbage. Yeah, so we are part of the water rangers. Great. And test the water in there. That's wonderful. And certainly we could have some engagement with your group. So basically, if you go to the next slide, there's some information here from a document that was created by one of our faculty, Gail Kranzberg, of how much habitat is enough. And this is a federal government regulations on stream buffers, and recommends creating a 30-meter buffer, vegetated, and to keep the garbage and the oil and gas and salt that comes in the parking lots from flowing directly into a water course. So you trap the sediment, you trap the pesticides, anything that's used, you have that natural buffer to keep it from going right into the creek so we can maintain our water quality. Secondly, by creating vegetation there, you reduce stream bank erosion, like we talked about. The more plants and trees along a creek, the less erosion and sand deposition to keep the water clean and flow nicely. And also it provides controls the temperature, because this is a very important cold water creek, and also provides food and cover for wildlife as they try to migrate through here or want to eat and move around. So it was really great about 2013 getting the buffer done there. So next slide I'm going to show you is a little bit of the process of creating a buffer, the tearing up all the pavement and asphalt and moving that out of the area. And then we had to, once all the asphalt was gone, we had to have clean, nice dirt dropped in there. And then we did a lot of planting through the biology department and student volunteers. We revegetated. And we will have certainly public events going on down there too. So we'll be definitely engaging the MCYU friends and students of that in some of our volunteer work. So it was a really good initiative, and it's really become along nicely. So moving to the next slide, some of the other things we've got, here's that little sitting area identified in that one slide. You saw the bench by the tree. This is Randy Kay and Daniel Coleman from the university talking to a group of art students about the history and the significance of the lower campus area. So we have a lot of student groups going down there. We take student groups out into the Coots Paradise area on canoe trips, and I organize those quite often to explore. This is an art class doing drawings and sketching out in Coots Paradise, which is really lovely. Next slide, please. And as I said, we have a lot of art engagement. This is another art class from our School of Art down drawing and sketching, painting, and because it's such a beautiful area, and you can see Ancaster Creek in the top right slide. Photography as well on the bottom left, and you can see the buffer That's a buffer after about 5 years, growing up with goldenrod and nice habitat for ecology. So it's been a major change to the better. Next slide, please. And we talked about water quality, understanding the fish and the water chemistry and how healthy it is. And this is electrofishing. This is a group from the Hamilton Conservation Authority and some students from the School of Biology. Electrofishing is basically how they study the fish in a water course. That rod in the person's hand in the middle is the kind of a shocking mechanism. It will stun the fish only for a few seconds and does not harm them, but allows the others here to collect them with the nets. They put them in the pail, they count them, they weigh them, understand the species, the length of the fish, and then they release them back in. So this is a common way to study the fish in a water course. On the right is Raina and a colleague doing some water flow and sediment study from areas flowing into the creek to see how much sediment is coming in from our parking area and other areas. So the university students have been really engaged as well as researchers on understanding the health and the how good and safe the Ancaster Creek is. So really good stuff going on there. So next. So what we want to show you now is we talked a lot about the natural significance of the lower campus. And this is a video that myself and Noah Stegman from the School of Biology did. And I might note it's about 10 minutes long, but he's going to review all the types of nature found there. And we'll have a few questions after. So we'll let this roll and we'll talk a little bit about it. You'll learn a lot about the nature down there. Thank you.
We are going to be talking to you all about West Campus wetlands and creek species. These are mainly along the Ancaster Creek or Coldwater Creek corridor. My name is Noah. I'm a master student in the Department of Biology with Nature Master. And here with me today is also Wayne Terryberry, Coordinator of Outdoor Recreation and Natural Lands in the Department of Athletics and Recreation.
Great, thanks, Noah. We've learned a lot in this video about the history and the significance of Ancaster Creek area. And Noah and I are going to discuss, as he noted, some of the ecological species and areas of significance here. And you can see from this great aerial photo, the what looks like an hourglass. And you can see on the right, upper right, Coots Paradise, and then on the lower left, Dundas Valley, two very significant natural areas, pretty decent size, big areas, lots of species. And then the little neck in the middle, McMaster University's lower campus. The area is about, just over 1 kilometer long, maybe not quite a half a kilometer wide, but it is a very important eco corridor for species of flora and fauna to move from these two significant natural areas. This movement is really important because it provides more habitat, opportunities for enhanced food supply, and potential breeding opportunities. Some species need a little more space, so they are able to move through here. So recognizing the significance of this middle of the hourglass, we're calling it, you can see from the next slide that these are some patches of habitat that was done from a study that we did through the Coots Escarpment Eco Park system, showing the patchy areas of habitat, significant habitat, and you see the water in the black, but you can see between those two, as we showed in the previous slide, significance of that area. So we're hoping with this Waterfront Trust proposed restoration work at Lower Campus, we can enhance the habitat there and provide more opportunities for release a lot of the barriers that species would come up against to move from these two very significant areas. So I'm going to turn it over to Noah now to talk about some of the species there, both there now and some that we might hope could return or prosper there in the future.
Thank you, Wayne. So what we have along West Campus is Ancaster or Coldwater Creek, which is a cool or cold water stream, which are pretty rare on landscapes and provides host to a number of different plant and animal species. So I'm going to go through a few of these wetland or creek associated species now. So as you can see here, I've got 5 different trees. And if a species is highlighted in yellow, that means it's currently not found on our Lower West Campus area, but we hope to introduce it or have it naturally introduce itself to the area. These are all species found either currently on West Campus, if they're not highlighted, or they're found somewhere else within the corridor if they are highlighted. So a big wetland species is the sycamore tree, which is rare in Hamilton. Next, we have a number of shrubs. So shrubs are kind of like small trees. They're really low to the ground, only a few meters tall, and they provide a number of different fruit and flower sources to birds and insects. So these are a number of the ones found in our area. Redwood or dogwood is probably one that most people are familiar with those bright red stems. Next, we'll move on to the flowers. So there are hundreds of flower species in the area, and there's over 50 marsh or wetland style flowers that are currently found on West Campus from the old marsh system. So all of these are marsh flowers, which means they like to grow in wet areas and provide host to a number of different insects, both pollinating and otherwise. And we'll move on to the grass family. So this includes rushes, sedges, grasses, and also cattails. So we've just got 5 species highlighted here that are all currently found on West Campus. Prairie cordgrass is actually a locally rare species as well in Hamilton, which we have a nice look at. The one you're probably most familiar with is that cattail on the right. Just a big, tall, thick leaves, kind of has what people say is looks like a corn dog seed head. Next, we'll move on to mammals. So these are all associated with water, and specifically creeks and wetlands in our case. So the ones you're probably most familiar with are the beaver, the raccoon, and the deer. So raccoon, if they're not going through your garbage, their natural food source is often associated with water, where they'll eat crustaceans and fish and other things like that. Then we have our ecosystem engineers, beavers, which are found all along Spencer Creek and Ancaster Creek, as well as other smaller, lesser known species like the American mink and muskrat. And as we all know, deer are widespread in Hamilton, and we'll have lots of habitat for them down there as well. Moving on, we have the fishes. So as some people might wonder why we say fishes, that is the plural form of multiple species of fish, versus if you had multiple of one species, it would just be fish. So here are 5 species as a snapshot of what are already found on West Campus. And with the Watershed Trust redesign, we are hoping to increase spawning habitat for northern whiting. So there's not a lot of habitat right now for them in the Cootes Paradise area, and our goal is to increase that. Here's a little snapshot of 5 wetland-associated birds. You're probably all familiar with great blue heron, and most of you have probably heard the song of a red-winged blackbird. And then we have some maybe lesser-known species like the kingfisher, the wood duck, and the purple martin. So the purple martin is not currently found on West Campus, but we have the right habitat for it, and we're hoping as we do some of this ecological restoration that they move into the area. Wood ducks are actually an interesting species because they nest in trees rather than on the ground like most duck species. They actually have clawed feet for gripping trees. Move on to invertebrates. There are hundreds of species in the area, but here's just a little snapshot. So we've got the damselflies and dragonflies, the butterflies, the bees, the fishing spiders, and crayfish. So there's a number of different species in the area. Monarch butterfly are present, as are American bumblebee, which are both species at risk in Canada. Next, we'll move on to one of the most significant categories, people might say, are the reptiles. So these are in extreme peril all across Ontario due to road mortalities, as well as other habitat loss pressures. So right now, only the snapping turtle has been found on West Campus, but all of these other species are found in the area, in King's Paradise or other areas of the Ancaster Creek watershed, and we're hoping that they move in with some of this pond and wetland restoration work that we're going to have about. So last but not least is the amphibians. So wetlands are a host to a variety of species, mainly frogs and salamanders, although toads are also there. So here are just a little snapshot. We've got the wood frogs and bullfrogs, leopard frogs, as well as a few other species found down there, and then also salamanders. So currently, no salamanders have been found on West Campus, but we're hoping that some of the restoration work will make it more appealing to them. Now, salamanders are not actually found in the creeks or some of the online ponds because they'll be eaten by fish, but we hope they'll be in some of the upper reaches of our restoration efforts, the other wet areas out of the reach of predatory fish. So thank you all for joining us. And if you have any questions about any of the ecology in the area and species found on West Campus, or any other questions about the area in general, feel free to visit our website at nature.mcmaster.ca, where we have a variety of information, or you can reach out to us through our email there.
Okay, we'll go back and I see Chris got a question.
I was thinking of going backwards too because there is something I saw that I've seen before.
Which was that?
It was at the very three last ones.
Was it one of the species that Noah was talking about?
Yes, it was the species.
Yeah, which one? I can talk about that with you. Do you remember?
It was those little pictures of the species.
Yeah? Which one were you thinking about?
It was the one that had the salamander.
Yeah, the two salamanders and the frog.
It was the last frame.
Okay. Was there a question I can answer from that without, or should we go back to it?
It was that I've seen it before, except it was orange.
Oh, there's many different types of salamanders. There's a Jefferson salamander, which is often found in Burlington, crossing Kings Road. They close it often for that, but there's so many wonderful species of salamanders and frogs that were found around our area. So I'm glad you were able to see those.
That's all.
So what I wanted to do now is to highlight a little bit about the turtles. Noah noted how they're very much a species of risk, and there's a lot of predation, a lot of loss of habitat, and the numbers of turtles are seriously decreasing in Coutts Paradise and the Lower Campus area. You may have heard of the Dundas Turtle Watch, which is a group of volunteers formed about 10 years ago. And they walk the roads along Coutts Drive between Coutts and the Lower Campus because turtles like to come up and find nesting areas that are gravel or sand where they can dig and lay their eggs. And this often requires them to cross the road and often get hit by cars. So the Dundas Turtle Watch walks, and this is primarily in June when a lot of the nesting's going on. they will walk the roads. Any turtles they see, they move off the road or across the road where they want to go so they can nest. So it's a really important initiative, and we're very thankful to have them working on this. Next slide, please. So I wanted to highlight, because there's not a lot of great nesting areas for turtles, and the turtles can go under the road along the creek under Coots Drive, which the RBG has channeled with fencing to encourage them to go under instead of cross the road. In 2014, a group of students and we created turtle nesting mounds in the buffer area identified before. So basically, it's taking a big dump truck worth of sand, creating hills in a sunny area facing south. And this is a great area for then the turtles to find a safe place to lay their eggs. So this is a great initiative we did, created several of these along the buffer along the parking lot, and we have seen some use of it by turtles. Next one, please. Here's a picture of one that had been used, and the little wooden thing in the middle is a screen to protect the eggs from predation by raccoons or skunks or whatever, which is a serious, significant loss of predation for turtle nests. So you find a nest, you put a little screen over it. When they hatch, they can crawl underneath and move out to where they're going. So it's something we do to protect the turtle eggs. And if we want to run this is a little video of some snapping turtles hatching out of a little nest, which I think is really cute. I might note here that you don't see any eggshells laying around. The eggshells stay down under the ground when they hatch. And these baby turtles will start making their way to water as soon as they can get there to avoid any birds eating them or anything else. They will go find a place to hide along the water course. So this is a successful one. Look at the next slide, please. This is a blanding turtle. Noah identified that in the presentation he was doing there. This is there's only one left in Coots Paradise. There's 4 types of turtles found out in Coots, and the blanding is very rare and very much at risk. So a beautiful turtle. Next slide, please. And these are a bunch of turtles that are hatched. These are baby blanding turtles, and they found a nest. They hatched these to be released out in Coots Paradise. The RBG does that a lot. They find nests that could be predated or lost, take the eggs, hatch them, and let them release them again. You might note here in the top right is a nest that has been disturbed and eaten by possibly a raccoon, because you can see the shells laying up on the top. And as I noted earlier, if they hatch naturally, the shells will be below ground. So very cute. Next, please. This is Sarah Richer from the RBG just recently releasing 6 Midland painting turtles. This is a little video we watched.
It's not in the water, but half the water's out. So, buddy, what you gonna do?
These turtles are only an inch long.
Thinking about it. Weighing his options. Well, weighing its options, we don't technically know if these guys are hens or hers because we don't know the primary temperature they were incubated at.
Okay, next slide. I want to say Sarah noted there that the temperature of incubation determines the sex of a turtle. If it's 72 to 82 degrees in the nest, they will be females. If it's a higher temperature, there's a lot of variance in a nest. If it's over 82, they'll be males, which I find fascinating. So you had a question?
So if 1,000 turtle eggs were laid, how much would survive to lay eggs again?
That's a really good question. Baby turtle has a very tough life, and about 1 in 1,000 or a little more than 1,000 make it to adulthood. That's why we need lots of babies and lots of eggs. And it takes about 15 to 20 years for a turtle to become an adult to lay eggs. And if you see a big, big turtle, they could be 80 years old. They have a very much lifespan as a human. So baby turtles have a lot of things that can eat them, whether the nest actually hatches, how they make it through the winter. There's a lot of variables that determine how many will make it. So it's a very good question. Thank you. Any other questions about our nature stuff here?
Kai had a question earlier, Wayne, about how many types of mammals are found in the area.
I think there's about 20 to 30 various types of mammals found. I'd have to get the exact number, but it is a good number, and there's a lot of different types of mammals, from small rabbits and things like that to deer, coyotes. So I will definitely look into the exact number. That's another very good question. So I want to close here by something, and Sally talked a little bit about this. I want to note, you can see the buffer here by the parking lot now that we've talked about it and how it's growing back. So now what do we do here? So the university has found that we don't need as much parking as we used to. This parking lot could hold 1,100 cars or so. With different, more students and staff, faculty taking the bus and riding bikes to school, with a lot of hybrid working relationships now, with a lot more people working partly from home and a lot of virtual learning, we're finding we don't need as much parking. So the university has looked into restoring this to more of a natural environment, with some buildings, sustainable buildings for classes and stuff, but bring it back to nature, which I find incredibly exciting. I would never have thought this would happen. It's called a watershed trust, and we'll talk a little bit about that as we move ahead. So the university has hired a very famous landscape architect from the US called Patricia Johansson, and she's incredible. She takes disturbed areas like sewage treatment plants or water recycling areas or parking lots and turns it back into a natural area that provides habitat for both people and nature. So you see these pictures. This is Fair Park Lagoon in Dallas, and she put a lot of artwork here where people can walk over with trails. The turtles can sunbathe on here. There's a lot of aquatic vegetation that the animals can go underneath. She's very famous for her work on artistic restoration, providing a balance between nature and human use. And what's really interesting is when she designs a place, she finds a plant or animal species that is common there. And you see this aquatic plant, the drawing on the bottom right. She then designs the restoration work based on the outline of a plant or animal species to give it a little bit of an artistic, natural flair, and then all the design work. You see all these little bridges? These are little roots and stems that form that plant. So this is really incredibly exciting. So next slide, please. So here's another one she worked on, Ellis Creek Water Recycling Facility in California near the Pacific Ocean. And this is where water comes out from recycling into water ponds. So when she looked to restore this with islands for animals and deep ponds of water, and you see on the photo on the top left that there's deep ponds, there's a lot of aquatic vegetation and lower depth water areas to provide habitat. And she designed it based on the salt marsh harvest mouse, which is down at the bottom. So you can see how there's the head at the picture and the body and a little tail. So she designed the work based on the layout of the area and then designing things according to represent a natural landscape based on a plant or animal that lives there. This is really quite interesting. So I want to ask you a quick question. Here's Lower Campus outlined in red. What do you think plant or animal species that might look like? Any thoughts? Anybody see something that might represent an animal or plant species when Patricia looks at this? She came up with a really interesting representation.
It looks like a baby turtle coming out of like this little sand area.
Yeah, that's a good point. A little turtle coming out with his back end there. That's a good observation. I'll share that with Patricia. But moving on to the next slide, what she found is that it looks like a monarch butterfly. How cool is that, eh? So she's working on some design concepts where the lower campus would be designed based on the outlines of a monarch butterfly's wings. So you can see there a little bit on the bottom, some of the marsh ponds she might create, some hill slopes on the top, and we'll look at that at the next slide. So you can see here's the bottom part of the Lot M, so the lower part of that red outlined area. And this is a rough design she did. So you can see on the picture on the right that you see the creek where it is now, the blue line on the left of the picture, and then her creating some walking areas and aquatic ponds that can be created with various depth levels. And you can see from the aerials that, like going from the top, the creek overflow, so the water can flow in and out of the creek and also create habitat for fish spawning, turtles to live and lay eggs, but lots of trails for people to walk around as well. So you see the open water, the 5 to 6, 6 to 7, which would be deeper and provide more fish habitat with islands in it. And then on the far right where the purple is, I might note something really important here is on that hill slope, which comes from the houses up top, there's cold spring water coming out, spring-fed water flow. And this is very significant for ecology because spring water is very cold, very clean, and coming into an area like this is really important for many fish species to lay their eggs, like northern pike, for example. So this will provide, if this is finalized, habitat with cold spring-fed water. There's only one other place in Lake Ontario that provides cold water spawning areas. And then you can see a few of the turtle mounds where they can lay their eggs and sunbathe, and then some meadows. So this is a very much a work in progress, but right now they've been working on doing some fluvial water studies in that area, determine how much water depth, what the water table is, studying the water flow underground to know how much water will be there to create. That is almost done by a consultant now, so we'll be able to start moving ahead with some of the more design and work that can be done to create this. This is the full lower campus now. You see where the area we talked about at the bottom, and you see the deep channels and turtles, the springs I talked about. And then also at the top, it's proposed that when we dig these ponds for the lower area, we use the dirt to pile up to make raised areas up at the top part of the butterfly and possibly put buildings in underneath the dirt to create a very cool, ecologically sustainable housing with windows, like plants can grow on it too. So very much a tiered feel to the top part of the butterfly. So it's very interesting and very creative. So I know we're running out of time here. We did talk about this eco art project that Sally mentioned, and here's the line that's been painted on the parking lot. And we, as I said, will possibly have a chance for all of you to come out in the spring and make stencils and paint them along the blue line. I know some McMaster students are going to do some on Monday. So it's going to look really amazing. Question? Oh, you just like that. Good. It is a cool thing, eh? We're just going to wrap up here, and I just wanted to note that I really thank you for the time to speak to you. And if you want to check out our Nature at McMaster website, we have a lot of amazing information about nature and ecology around the Hamilton area about our McMaster Forest. And you can please contact us about any questions you may have. And we'll definitely be keeping you up to date about volunteer opportunities through Jasmine, and she can send information out. I might want to note that if you're interested in learning about nature, we have 3 interpretive hikes at McMaster Forest over the next few weeks, and I will send the information to Jasmine to send out to you. Next Saturday morning, we have Rob Porter from the Hamilton Naturalist Club doing a birding walk. He's amazing, and he has a lot of bird study out there. He can identify all the birds, the nests. So that will be next Saturday morning. October 3rd is Professor Zhu from biology coming out from the university talking about mushrooms and fungi you could find in McMaster Forest. And then Saturday the 9th is Kyle McLaughlin, who's a professional arborist, works for the city of Burlington. He's going to talk about trees out at McMaster Forest. And these are all free, and I will send the information to Jasmine to share with you. One thing I wanted to ask all of our great participants here, this is the first time we've really shared to the public the work that's being done in Lower Campus and the ideas of creating marshlands and things. I wondered if you wanted to, if you could write a letter to the university, 1 page, put some drawings and arts, and let us know what you think about it. What do you think about this work going on down there, the things we've done and what we're looking to achieve to make it a healthy, natural area for humans and ecology? So I was wondering if you wanted to send a letter into Jasmine, and I can share it with the university leadership who've been really amazing at trying to make this happen. So thank you once again, and I look forward to seeing you on one of the hikes or down at Lower Campus in person. And thanks again.
Thank you very much, Wayne. That was absolutely amazing. It's really nice to hear about all the wonderful reclamation work that's going on. And as you mentioned, this is a really good opportunity for our young people and their families to get involved in work like this. So we will, in collaboration with Wayne, be making available on our website as well any opportunities that come up for the kids to volunteer and help with this process in the months and years to come. So keep your eyes on that. Do we have any additional questions for Wayne? I know we're a little bit over time, but if there's anything that people want to ask him now, this is a really good opportunity.
And I might note you can also email nature@McMaster on the screen here, and Noah or I will be more than happy to answer any questions you have about Lower Campus or nature in general. Noah is quite knowledgeable about all aspects, and I know the conservation stewardship history very well. So we're happy to email us at any time. And I might note we also have a Facebook page and various things, but really check out that website I noted here at the top.
Yeah, we'll definitely work with you, Wayne, to start sharing some of the wonderful work that you're doing with our audience. So if there are no questions, then I want to thank Wayne again and encourage everyone to visit the MCYU website. And please, if you can also take a minute, make a short video about your experiences with MCYU and share that with us so we can put together a montage of what everybody thinks about our programming and the way we've been bringing all this wonderful work that's going on in our community to share with you. So thank you again, Wayne, and we look forward to seeing all of you and your families at the next lecture. Take care, everyone. Bye.